Flabingo, ladies and gentlemen, you're here at the episode of Questionzilla, part whatever this is, coming at you with questions.
Did you know that I wanted to be the first one?
Yeah, I could hear you, I could sense you coiling up, and then I had to jump higher and hit that basketball towards, I don't know, who's on my team?
Well done. I did feel like I really got rejected by someone taller than. That's a weird thing. I'm like nearly 6'4", and so sometimes people will be like, oh, do I, right? You know, every girlfriend that I've ever, that's even just like a normal height, is like, do I seem short to you? I'm like, I would have no idea what a short person, what constitutes
it's all short from up here.
It's all short. I mean, if there's a girl like my height, I'm like, that's a tall girl. But what drives me crazy is when, and I've talked with some other tall people that experience this, is when someone's taller than me, there's something in my subconscious that's like, what? Huh? Like, that's not, it happens so rarely that when it does happen, it makes a part of me angry. I'm like, you're not supposed to be up there. Get down. It's
get back in your place. That's so interesting. I'd never really thought about, I mean, for moments you think about being a tall person, but I've never really considered it. And every room I go to, I'm exactly either, or not either. Every room, there's always people shorter than me and people taller than me.
What are you?
I'm 5'9". That's right in the, I think average for men is like 5'7" to 5'9". So it's right in that.
I think you're about
that average. Also, don't you love when like an average should just be a number, right? Like when they do penis size and they're like, oh, average size is between 4 and 7 inches. It's like, just average those two. It's trying to like make it a scale so that people can still be 4s and be like, yes.
That seems like a small to a large penis to me. Yeah. Between 4 and 7. That's funny.
There's this Man Show bit or Adam Carolla bit, I forget. Maybe it was on Man Show or just afterwards, but he's like, you know how to measure it? Well, my trick is you start at the anus and then you go twice around the balls and then just past the tip. But yeah, height, I'm average 5'9", right in the middle. I did it.
Nice. Yeah, so you never know what you're walking into, a taller or a shorter situation.
And it helps with we've talked about bananas and apple, right? Like the successful formula for any duo, you got to have a banana and an apple. Like Bert and Ernie, you got to have me and you. One kind of, I'm trying to think of other examples, but like tall, and then like not like super short to the ground, but tall and normal sized.
I wonder how that's going to work. Because our very first time on stage together as Mind Under Matter, because we've been on stage together like Stand Up Science. And, but yeah, that was, we stood for those. I think if we were in a club, we'd be seated. But now I'm like, well, now I got apple and banana in my head. I really want.
I don't think we should do it seated. I think that's disrespectful.
Really? You don't think like live-ish podcast? You think you're standing the whole time?
Yeah, stand.
Okay. All right.
You can walk around. It's part of a show. When you're sitting, it subconsciously signals like, hey, relax. Unless you're Big J Okerson, Patrice O'Neill, Mark Maron, or Paul Mooney. But Paul Mooney is dead. Patrice is dead.
So if you sit on stage, you have a pretty high likelihood of dying.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't even think Ralphie May sat on stage. But then you'd have like a really sturdy chair would need that. It was big.
I was thinking, I just before recording, I was thinking about how to pull off live Mind Under Matter shows. Somehow I lack the confidence. it's always, marketing shows is always, when you're self-producing shows and things and doing themed things, it's always scary, but usually you can kind of have a sense of things, or you do a test run first. Like I'm gearing up for doing a test run to then do a tour starting in a couple months. But it's especially like we can't just book like 30 cities and be like Mind Under Matter tour, and then because you have no idea if only 10 people are going to show up on the first night or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was someone, I don't know, this is a questions episode. We were talking before because Ramin was maybe going to do a topic, and then we were just talking about our dynamic and how I often come up with the top, or
you're the topic queen normally, and then I wanted to be topic queen this time.
Yeah, we'll get you being topic queen more, and then we are discussing off the air how we need a glossary of terms, because that's a new one that we have, is topic queen.
TQ.
And so now we're letting the listeners be topic queens, and a couple other things too, because I've also thought about, so we, during the life development episode, which is now a couple weeks ago, we talked about how we have to cut some of our bonus content to create time. I actually think that we can, but then we got a bunch more Patreon support when people rewarded us for our honesty and vulnerability and telling them like, hey, we're struggling a bit.
Yeah.
Like most podcasts, like everyone except the top like 1 or 2% of podcasts, probably 1% of podcasts, you know, it's a thing that usually for it to work, you have to have other things going on. And so finding time to get those other things going on, but
which we do, I think we're not hyper focused. Although I guess I'm somewhat focused with Instagram posting stuff, but that's so little, you know, like big stuff is, you know, you're out on tour, you're going on other people's shows, you're doing this.
Other people's shows is the thing.
Which we're doing stuff, but it's like you got to be hyper focused as the thing you're doing, which you're going to regret in 20 years and say like, oh, I should have put all my eggs in this basket.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that because there was so much, there was a flood of support.
Flood. Nice.
Not near enough for like from a Bills perspective, but very wonderful and generous.
Let's keep it like that forever. Like no matter how much we make, we're like,
oh my gosh,
it was good, but not from a Bills perspective. We're still about to close the gate and shut down permanent. Oh wait, someone just came in. Okay, we'll keep the store open for another 5 days.
Well, I think we'll do. Because I think we'll do 2 art episode. So then we're just cutting 1 bonus episode a month more than what we were already doing, because also after that we got a bunch of art suggestion things. So now we got a bunch of good ones that I want to do. So we're not cutting as many bonus episodes as we had discussed, since there's some more support, but I think we're going to trim down the episode times a little bit, just to see if, because when we started, that there was a surge of people doing longer and longer podcasts for a while there, because everyone was like trying to copy the Rogan model and everything. But now that there's just so many podcasts out there, it's like I don't know that people have time for lots of different 2-hour long.
Yeah, and we were doing it for us. We didn't do it because we said that they would like it. We did it because we needed therapy, and it was during pandemic, and now we're fixed. Yeah, we're fixed. Pandemic's officially over. Viruses are officially eradicated.
There's no more viruses. We have perfect mental health. We no longer need to talk to each other. Now we would just be talking to each other for fun, and we can't have that. So we got to cut down. We got to cut down that time.
It's all sports scores and how's your nephew doing?
Yeah, because so the main thing now is how do we get, because one of the topic queens, I wonder if they were, when I read it, I was like, is this person being an asshole? Or are they being sarcastic, or are they being genuine? either they're being sarcastic and it's funny, or they're being genuine. And I'm
if they're on
answering it
Patreon,
right now.
they have the right.
Yeah. So Zach Riddle said, hey, just listen to the latest episode. Can you guys talk a little more about needing more listeners?
Oh,
Maybe
that's
do a
so
few
funny.
episodes just dedicated to that. I'm like, that has to be sarcastic, right? Like, what's your guess? Sarcasm, right?
100%. Yeah.
100%
And I worry about
sarcasm.
it the same way I worried about. Yeah, like when we started talking about the fest, like there was a huge part of me, if not my entire being, like this is going to tank the show's regular numbers, although we will have a good festival and all that. But like if we don't stick to the roots and stay on the beat, we're going to lose people.
People really love hearing about what goes into the show and everything, and lots of other people would just prefer the show, and then it's just like whatever shoots out of our brain is what ends up being recorded. But
yeah, it's true. And our complaints are likely so minimal compared to what a listener's complaints might be. Not all of them, but some of them might be working the shittiest job, have nothing, just looking for some entertainment. And then they're like, you want more listeners? What about me? I'm listening.
I know. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing too. You can't, when the comedian in the club like scolds the audience that is there for being a small audience. Like, but we're the ones that showed up.
Exactly. Yeah, you're punishing the people who are supporting you. I don't even want more listeners. I would like one listener, one very high value listener, one golden goose listener.
I want to be able to tour confidently and be able to be like, hey, we can get 200 people in a room. That's what it would cost for.
You never know though. We just saw Florence and the Machine at the Hollywood Bowl, and she was saying genuinely that like, oh, I didn't think anyone would come. It's sold out. They sold out 2 nights in a row, and that place holds 1 million people.
Florence and the Machine is pretty popular and dope AF.
Oh, yeah.
We're neither popular or dope.
But she even felt that. She felt that, no one's going to come. So the feeling of no one's going to come, that's eternal. Of course, we have more right to that claim of no one's going to come.
I just want to be able to, it's fine. I'm putting together tours with other things, but when I think about what would interest me the most between like a psychedelic tour, which I'm probably putting together because that's like it's fun to do and easier to fill generally for me. And stand-up science, which I would prefer more, but it's sometimes a little harder to market depending.
It's the opposite
Mind
of
Under
sex.
Matter.
Like sex instantly sells, and then science, you're like already working at a disadvantage.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's about the sex of science, it's still too much beakers and microscopes going on there.
The word science is a great filter for quality. You get awesome quality people. All my stand-up science shows, I mean, you were at the people that come out are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's psychedelic shows too, generally awesome, but stand-up science, psychedelic show audiences, there'd always be like some tables of burnouts and stuff that were like sometimes a hair annoying, but amusing. And you know, the person that had done like a 40 strip of acid last week that needed to
there's always
tell
someone
you all
on a
of
mission.
the secrets. Yeah. Afterwards, it's just like, can you not tell me about your mission right now, please?
Aren't you familiar with the trope? Haven't you seen it?
and then stand-up science, you'd get some like fuddy-duddies where it'd be like, I went to this show to hear science and a comedian did an anal sex joke. Like, yeah, there's science. And
well, actually,
there might be
anuses are part of science. The anus is composed of a cellular membrane wall, which is slightly less hydrated than the skin on, let's say, your palm of your hand. Now, the reason for that being is that the muscles that move out excrement actually don't require a lot of lubrication. It's purely a physical motion contracting. That's why a lot of people experience constipation when their anal membrane began to atrophy.
I can't believe you can just perfectly recall all of the perfect anal sex facts that exist in the world. It's very impressive. But then I don't know. I've been inspired by Mumfest of like, well, this is the audience that you would like to multiply. You know, you would like that audience in any show, whether you were doing stand up or having science talks or
to make a clone
else.
Army. Like you find the one specimen that you then, okay, we got to clone this audience.
Yeah. So just like if people like that, and everyone said that was one of the highlights, because I've been to now 2 festivals since Mum that were similar, one much larger, one smaller, and people that were at Mum were like the people that, because they came from all over the country and everyone was interesting and smart, and because some of the festivals have the same. Like you see the same people that you have, like the fest goers. They're just, you see them at every single festival that there is, and that's a different vibe than someone that's like they don't do this stuff very often and everything. I don't know. So figuring out a way to curate that is the tricky part. Because there's a lot of ways to like grow an audience, but not grow the audience of people that you actually want. Like
I was thinking like people like Tim Dillon and Anthony Jeselnik or Nick Mullen, who are all hilarious in their own individual ways. Like they all hate their audiences. They're all like trying to sneak out the back after the show. This is an exaggeration, of course. I don't think maybe not Mullen and Tim so much. I think Anthony Jeselnik in particular, I just remember him being like, yeah, I don't like my fans. I'd like to just kind of sneak out the back, because he probably attracts a lot of people trying dark one-liners on him or something like that. But
yeah. So,
and that's probably not even the majority. Majority are just normal people. Yeah.
But anyway, this has just been on my mind a lot as I'm starting to figure out touring, which is a scary thing everything changes all the time. And so since I haven't toured in 2.5 years, now I don't know if all of the various marketing techniques that I used to do. So anyway, that's what's on my mind clearly lately. And sorry if you don't care about the ins and outs of self-producing things.
Which one do you think will make us more annoying? Our pre-success selves or our post-success selves? So right now we're like, I got a planned tour, not sure how to market it, not sure to get enough listeners to support the cost of the show to putting it together. Or the afterwards where it's like, this year I'm going to get Shane his own volcano and it's going to have his name engraved on it, and he's not going to know until it erupts, and he thinks he's going to be in trouble, but I've hired a helicopter to pick him up and zoom him across. And then meanwhile there's like droughts everywhere because climate change and things have gotten worse, but we're killing it.
And your volcano project caused most of the droughts.
Whoops.
But that's part of why it was so funny to buy me a volcano, was because of all of the death that happened from it. And
I'm an accelerationist, of course. But which is more annoying, you think? Like having too much money or not having enough to sustain comfortably?
I think it's annoying. I think that I've just never liked popular things that much. I think humans are status seeking, just bandwagon jumping. So I just never seem to see eye to eye with a lot of what, other than some TV
Beatles
shows
is good.
Is like, what's
Beatles?
that?
Beatles are good.
Beatles are good. Yeah. There's exceptions to the rule, but yeah, I think a lot of, I don't know. There's just a lot of like, it's so weird because we evolved in little tribes where if someone was maybe a slightly better hunter or tool maker or something like that, it'd be like, all right, this guy, or the one that's like slightly funnier or something, like, cool. And then that was their version of famous, where you got like a little better treatment, or you were a little more well liked or a little more popular. And then much in the ways that we have evolved to seek out sugary, fatty things because it was a thing that we that was necessary to passing our genes on to our survival. And now there's always like, there's candy and a bunch of crap that's hijacked that those desires. I feel like fame is one of those things that's just hijacked our brains.
It totally did.
Have no fucking idea what they're even enjoying or taking part in. And it was always creepy to me to go to church and just to hear people just saying a bunch of words to a thing that they had memorized that they wouldn't have any idea what they meant. It was just about memorizing. It's so weird and creepy. And it's the most important part of their lives is that they go and repeat mindlessly words that they don't understand the meaning of. And that's like their most, if you ask people what they value the most, like, well, that's the most important thing to do, is to go and say the magic words that we have no idea what the meaning or origin is of them. And I always felt the same way with like spectator sports and stuff, where if you're really into it and you're seeing like the plays being called and this and that, I guess, there's an art to everything, but it always seemed pretty mindless and silly to me.
That is what a lot of people also like, though. Like, you enjoy spending time figuring out the mind and minding things and dissecting things and seeing patterns and stuff. And some people are like, oh, I want to turn this thing off. What can I do to turn this off forever?
Yeah, and I get just like wanting to be a part of a collective and like I was thinking about the Psytrance Festival, Azora, that I went to in 2019, where it was just the loudest, worst music 24 hours a day, but it was just and it was basically, to my ears, it was like listening to a fire alarm going off for a week straight that just people were dancing to. But after like 2 days, you're like, okay, I sort of get it. It's just a thing that's easy to bounce up and down to, and we're all doing it together. And there's a big thing. Part of big thing.
It's all about the balance. Like, what a boring thing to say, balance. But there's, if you're an individual just out in the woods on your own or solitary confinement, that's torture. But then if you blend into the big thing and you lose your self, then there's no self to really enjoy being part of the big thing. You're not a you anymore. So there's like this joy that comes from being a separate thing and then merging into the larger collective, but then leaving it and then being a little individual unit again. But if you were to completely merge, then there's no you anymore to enjoy being the merged thing. It's this like trick. Yeah. We can never actually be it.
Yeah. Well, it's especially weird to be angsty about popular things and then to be an entertainer. Like, oh, I hate everything that people think is popular. Maybe I could be popular. Like, I hate popular things and want to be popular.
Yeah.
What?
Well, not that popular, just the perfect amount. What if it overflows? It won't overflow. It'll be the perfect amount. I'll love every person and we'll be equals, with the exception of me being slightly elevated than them because they know me. And well, that's in one way that's elevated, but if you're a more private person, it's a disadvantage that people just know a lot about you and you know nothing about them. You don't know nothing about their name or anything, and they just know.
Is that weird for you?
I kind of like it. I don't mind.
I love it. I love it. To me, not even from a patting myself on the back, feeling special.
I'm from there.
Sort of. You're from there. Mine is more. I need
100 pats a second.
Mine is just. It's such a relief. I remember experiencing this when I did the when I helped out with some of the mushroom retreats in Jamaica years ago, and. That was my first time spending a lot of time with just random individuals that had listened to everything that I've ever done. And I was like, what a relief to just pick up wherever my brain's at with whatever like new ideas that I'm interested in and consumed with at the moment. It's just like, oh, so you guys know how I've been thinking about this lately? Well, here's where my thinking is kind of evolving towards and stuff. What do you think about that? Rather than having to set up everything that I am, which is like,
teach kindergarten. You're teaching Shane kindergarten for first people, and this way you're teaching the advanced lecture.
That's awesome. I love getting to do that. There's pressure, like when I started doing stand-up science, and then super smart people would come out to shows, always wanted smart audiences, and then I'd be like, God damn it, I'm not smart enough for this smart open audience. But it is really, it's just easier because I'm awkward socially, and I don't like regular small talk and things, and so to just be able to jump into topics that I'm interested in with people that are interested in that's wonderful.
That's how it should be. Small talk should be a thing that happens once a year, and it's a special like regimented little ritual. But like the whole
small talk day that there's just all this build up to. Oh man, that could be a fun thing. And the Camp Out Fest.
Small talk hour.
Small talk hour.
Yeah, like the way that Dr. McGraw had
the most amount of prep into the small talk.
Mm-hmm. And you get kicked out if you start getting too in depth with stuff. You have to talk about the weather. So what do you do? That's really? Fun. I have a cousin that does that. Yeah. Well, the weather was slightly more enjoyable yesterday than it is today. Only small. Keep it small. Frivolous. But I like the fame that is the, cartoonishly big problematic fame that leads to addiction and aggravated mental health. That's no good. But the perfect medium fame that you describe of people knowing what you're about, what you like, where you are at this stage of your evolution, want to jump on board with you during that, and you're getting to meet them as well. That's beautiful right there.
Yeah.
Introductions suck. What's your name again? Sean Mauss?
Yeah.
Oh, comedy? Would it SNL or anything I've heard of? Have you tried doing a show like Seinfeld? Me and my brother used to watch Seinfeld all the time. Kramer was his favorite, but I was more of an Elaine person. And I mean, I don't like to shove people or anything like that, but there's times that I'd like to. So is there anywhere I could see you perform and then you're already like just leaving your body, like just going as far away from it as you can? You hope you can find it again. Hopefully you dropped a pin and you can come back to where your body is and it doesn't just stay there spasming.
At pickleball, there's a line, like you put your paddle in a thing to wait because there's not enough courts, so you have to wait around. So it's very natural to be standing next to someone and to be like, hey, what's your name? What do you do? And it's just, I usually just leave the pickleball court when I'm not playing and like sit outside and do something just so I don't have to deal with people asking me what I do. Or I should start saying evolutionary biologist or
that's funny.
Anything else, because it doesn't, I hate it. I try different things each time. Like, I do a lot of things. And then just that's the worst answer. It's not, I do a lot of things, and then they just think you're a drug dealer or something and leave you alone. But I tried festival thing last time I got asked a few days ago. That went okay. That was better than telling someone you're a comedian. Telling someone you're a comedian is the fucking worst. Yeah,
because like we've discussed, we're going through a new 80s. There's 100 million stand-up clips being generated a second with boring ass crowd work, captioned crowd work, and it loops. It's literally hell. Hell is a looping, like bland, banal crowd work clip that like, it's repeating because you hear the first part again. You're like, oh, I think this is where it started again. And it makes you start to hate people that you loved before. You loved them before. You'd see them out of the club. I can't wait to see their new stuff. And now it's like, oh, I'm being subjected to their crowd work clips.
Oh my God.
every day.
I was just going through
I like crowd cribs.
YouTube for whatever. I think I was looking through our comments or something, but then different suggested videos. I don't know why Andrew Schultz was suggested to me, because I've never,
because he won the internet.
He won the internet, I guess. I've never clicked on a YouTube video of his, but there's several different things. I was just looking at their titles because it's something we need to think more about. And his title was from 3 years ago, and it was a video, "Gayest Heckler Ever." Like 3 million views. Gayest heckler ever. And that's what's popular.
And the trick is that he loves the heckler, actually. You open it, it's like, oh, you think it's hateful, but it's about this heckler that he likes, and he gets friends with him. That guy's a brilliant marketer. It's like very like, who cares stand up, but the marketing aspect of it, he's the best to do it in this era. That's depressing.
But
it's a skill though, like, and it's a natural born talent that probably a lot of people with degrees in marketing probably wouldn't be able to be on the ground.
100%. I know business professors that have tried to start their own businesses and fail. That happens all the time. There's professors that are not those who can't teach sort of situations. And some people just like get a feel for a thing and have an intuition about it and just understand. It's funny. People don't trust you when you have that too. Like I have. So I was just at this festival. It was fun. Graveyard Get Down. It's like a Halloween themed festival.
GGD.
And outside Raleigh, and they had me do. I was this girl Ariel that works for a local rock station in town, and she helped us promote Mom a little bit. And so I was like, well, I'll do a free show for you for helping promote on radio and everything. But she never had stand up at her festival before, booked stand up or anything. And so I was just last night on a main stage outside at night, like right between, and there was some miscommunication where the band started. They played a song and then had this, because they were supposed to do a sound check, and then I was supposed to go up so they could come on right after me. And then they started. People start dancing and having a good time. And then they have to stop and bring me on for 30 minutes at like 10 p.m., 10:30 at night on a second night at a festival. I can't see anyone because it's too bright and it's really dark out. And everyone's scattered all over the place. People are having conversations, and there was a small indoor space. Afterwards, I was like, oh, by the way, this is where you want to put stand up in the future. I'm happy that I was here to do this for you. So to tell you that it needs to be in there, and I'm happy to be the guinea pig. I've had harder, more challenging sets in my career than it was fine, whatever. But I was also validated in that so many people after the camp out there are like, why don't you just have stand up on the like main stage too, between the bands? I'm like, because that's an awful idea, because stand up's intrusive and you're just hanging out talking with people, and then suddenly someone's on stage like, hey, I have this fisting joke that I need to tell all of you and have you pay attention to for 30 minutes. Standing
up, right? Like people are outside standing up. Yeah. That's the worst configuration.
Yeah. And so there's all these things like that outsiders just don't have a sense of if you haven't lived it. Like every job, you would make dumb assumptions about how it works, and then there's reasons why things don't work in the way that you would think that they would unless you do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so anyhow,
should we get to some quests?
Yeah. Sorry, I just went off a bit. That's thanks to Zach Riddle for his very sincere question about audiences. Joyce Abbott has a question.
Abbott Elementary.
What's that?
It's a show. It's the #1 show on Hulu.
Really?
It's like The Office, but it's about an elementary school. It's got Janelle James, Keenta Bronson, who else? I forget the other actors' names, but it's like it's an Office mockumentary style show, and it's just as good as The Office or Parks and Rec.
Okay. All right.
Write it down.
Have you gotten a Vice in yet in October? Have you watched too much TV yet?
No, not yet. I'm trying to figure out one still. Maybe my indecisiveness is my vice. My inability to just commit to getting a bottle of Jack Daniels and drinking a glass of it neat every night. Maybe it's calling. Maybe I should call family more.
Calling family is your vice?
No. I mean, like, maybe that's the thing I should start to because not calling my family is a vice. Like, not calling anyone is a vice. Addicted to not communicating.
Yeah, you are a little addicted to that.
Because it never ends. It's like this little text wants this message, this one, and then
I support you. I'm in agreement with you. I admire your ability to not check your texts and emails. But you are way more disconnected than most people.
Oh, 100%. I'm disconnected Daryl over here. But you know, the image that we've been using for the Taking Questions episodes where we're at the press conference, I feel like I could communicate to people all day in that format if I was actually in a real life place with a podium, and then it's like talking to my mom over here, talking to this friend from high school over here, talking to this, like I could communicate like well with that. But when I'm doing this bullshit with my thumbs, with voice notes, with the typing, with there's no like tactile real life thing that binds me to it. It just gets really irritating really fast.
Yeah, I'm a phone boy. I like phone calls, and I'm the last person on earth that likes phone calls. And so when people are just into the text, I'm like, this would be so much easier if we just chatted about this for 2 minutes. Anyway, Joyce Abbott Elementary says,
I feel seen.
If you made a major life do-over, in parentheses, such as a new job in a new state, what would you want to remind yourself as you build a whole new life? And
enjoy these early days. Because
she says she's doing this in Seeking Wisdom, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying that what I would do is like really savor those early days, even if you're perceiving it now as discomfort. Maybe like you don't have the friend group and like, oh, this apartment isn't doing what it used to for this. But then before you know it, a year goes by and you've settled in, and that new strange land that you moved to is no longer a new strange land. Now it's like boring routine home, and you kind of miss the way you felt when you were in a new place and like kind of off balance. So like appreciate your off balanceness right now. It'll never feel that way again after you've acclimated. That's my advice. Yeah.
The opposite would be to not get too excited about that newness too. I love the feeling of new. That new job feel when I had real jobs, and you get a new job and you're like, maybe this is
this cubicle is mine. No one else gets to use it. No, that's all yours. What about the black phone with the does that get my name put on it? Yeah. I actually had a job where I was so not there that not only did I never put a photo up or have any belongings to take home, I didn't even change the name on the phone. It never said my name on it. Like it said the previous person that had my desk, they worked here for like a year. I worked there for 5 years. That whole 5 years, it was the name of the other person on the phone. Cause I'm just like, I'm not here forever. I'm going to be the next Jerry Seinfeld or something.
I like vicariously when a friend of mine has a new job that they got. They're like, it's always they're a little sick. They're feeling of their old job. They're feeling a little stagnant, or they should be making more, or there's been all of these problems lately with work. And then they get the new job and they're like, yeah, I think this is really going to be a good fit for me. And I laughed just like you did.
Never gets old. It's like the old getting hit in the balls trick. Someone was saying that, I think Android Jones, this might be too long of a rabbit hole to go down, but basically saying that all roads end in, ow, I just got hit in the balls. Like art eventually just decays as a result of our tools getting too good. Like, with stuff to where we stop trying and then it becomes lowest common denominator. So you think that the future of humor is very sophisticated, but it actually goes the opposite way and it becomes like just, ow, my balls becomes peak humor of 2040 or something.
Yeah. I feel like we're experiencing that a little bit. I mean, a little bit.
Like it's funny
the
that
crowd work stuff that was when I started comedy, that was every comedian was in agreement that we are like, well, no, that's not what comedians really do anymore. We don't encourage heckling and have people yell out stuff so that we can have these witty retorts. That was something that happened in the early 90s. That was 10 years ago. We're past that. That was just some growing pains. I'm sorry, audience, that you think this is how comedy goes, but we've evolved. And now we're right back.
It's like when we go back into the water, like when you say like the sloths evolved out of the water, but then they went back into the water and then they came out. It's like we're going back into the water, not just with crowd work, but with like kind of basic like racial, like, oh, so dog, where are you from? It's like, they're like, I'm from Mexico. And like, why aren't you late? Why'd you get here on time? Just like random stuff like that. It's like, that's 80s level race crowd work, but it's embraced because it got so woke, I guess, that now it's like, oh, we're the edgy ones. Cause now we're not afraid to say that the Mexicans are late.
Well, it's a really, it's kind of a safe way to, so if you think about comedy through the kind of, simplified lens of Peter McGraw's benign violation idea of things can either be too benign to be funny, too benign and boring to be funny, or too much of a violation and too offensive to be funny. And then there's that sweet spot.
God would disagree though. God says there's no edge.
God
is like, that's not too dark for me. Yeah.
The whole time. Well, and then it's a sliding scale. So some people like darker, more inappropriate things. Some people like church humor or whatever. Oh my God. That was the other thing that turned me off to church humor when the priests make jokes and stuff. Oh my goodness.
Do you ever hear the one with
bad church street jokes?
I love the one about the guy that wants to get into heaven, and then stop me if you've heard this one, even if the listeners haven't heard it, but it's like, all right, you're at the pearly gates and St. Peter says like, okay, you need 10,000 points to get into heaven. He says, 10,000 points? Well, it's like, well, start listing what you did. I'll tell you how many points you had. He says, well, I helped this old lady cross the street. Oh, okay, that's good. That's 1 point. 1 point? I volunteered at the church every Sunday. Okay, that's good. That's another 15 points. 15 points? How am I going to? And he keeps listing stuff. And then eventually he's like, I don't have enough points. The only way I'm going to get in through the pearly gates is by the grace of God. And St. Peter goes, well, come on in. See, you do like church jokes.
I love how bad they are.
Yeah. We've got some guests over here. I got to like say the most outrageous shit possible now. So the other reason that the Jews are like moving against, I couldn't even complete the sentence.
Did they hear you?
Yeah, they like just, Catherine's just showing around some people are gonna help babysit Yosh. and just showing like, here's the laundry room, and then like just kind of pulled the curtain back there, and then I tried to say some Jew thing, and then I forgot how to be anti-Semitic.
It'll come back, yeah, I'm sure. So the idea of that benign violation, I think for a lot of the comics that are edge lords or whatever, it's such a cop-out position to take, because then, so if you are a comedian and you bias your material to, and I've done plenty of shock value material in my life and offensive-ish things and whatnot. So
yeah, I once called a lady an asshole in front of her face.
But if you err toward that violation and you're a comedian, then you can blame the audience for being too sensitive. Then it's not that you aren't a good joke writer or performer. It's that the audience's sensibilities are too delicate to appreciate your great material. And just every road hack has that attitude of just like, oh, what, too sensitive? Buckle your seatbelt. It's like, oh, we're not offended. That's just a lame, poorly written, very sloppy, easy joke that's very hacky and we've all heard before. And that's why I'm not howling laughing as much as you would like me to be. So, anyhow, that's comedy.
What was the question again? I forgot where we ended up
major
from.
life do-over. If you made a major life do-over, new job and new state is what she's going through. I don't know. Have you ever had like a do-over thing that you can think of? I mean, you've changed.
Moving to LA was a do-over. That involved leaving a job for nothing and no place even. We just moved out here and just got an Airbnb, and like we're looking at Craigslist every day like, oh, we got to find a place. Oh no.
Yeah, you had a nice house in Austin and stable income.
I had it all. Not only nice house, stable income. I had a job where my monitor was faced towards me, away from the door. And it evolved to where I was in a part of the building where no one walks by. Like it wasn't on the way to the bathroom, the break room. I was an island onto myself to where I could not show up and people probably wouldn't have noticed. Because they would ask me how long it would take to program something. And I could just be like, oh, this takes 3 weeks. So then it's like, oh, well, I guess we don't need to see you for 3 weeks. But you get bored though.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I used to look at LA on Google Maps. That was my little like poster of a girl on a dream car or something. Like I would just be at my job looking at LA on Google Maps. I'm like, there's the Comedy Store and there's where Meltdown is. I wonder how long it would take to drive to those, and I'm fantasizing on my little life there. And now I've been here for almost a decade, and I'm a stupid cunt.
Yeah. That having moved around a bunch, I think that's one of the good lessons that you can get from it, is that you think you're just going to be a completely different person in this new town or new job or new relationship. Or I've like moved to try to save a relationship before, like, there's something about this not working. Maybe moving from Boston to Austin or whatever will be a fresh start for us.
The B is the problem.
Yeah, and turns out, nope, the relationship was the problem. So that's a good lesson that you get to learn from all of this. And
did you want to save them in the past when you've been trying to save it? Did you truly want it saved, or were you just trying to not have someone be mad at you?
Oh, I think I was trying to save it.
Oh, you were trying to actually save it?
I used to. So I've never been into marriage and kids, but I really did believe, like, this is the person that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. I thought that twice, and one was close. I felt like maybe could have. And then there was another one that I didn't feel like that, but maybe could have. But yeah, no, I think genuinely I felt like this is gonna work. Now I'm a little cynical and don't think relationships will work, but then I'll meet a girl and be like, maybe I could be with her forever. I still like, I can't, you can't control your emotions it's always after the fact, seeing things objectively. Like, yeah, what was I thinking? Of course, that wasn't just moving to a new city wasn't going to fix everything. But you had to move to the new city to find it. And the thing is with being in a new city and having that new job or whatever else and having those new experiences is they do build, even though there's the hedonic treadmill and everything will become boring again, you have now added skills to your portfolio. You've added life experience by being in a new city, and you're probably a better person for it, but you won't feel that way. No, I don't think.
You always feel the same.
Yeah, you always feel.
If you don't change, then you'll decompose. So you have to always be changing and improving, but you'll always feel like you're the same.
Yeah. You want to do so? Thanks, Joyce Abbott, for your great question and Patreon support. You want to do an Instagram one?
Let's do it. Okay. Bombstract writes, it's just another bombstract. Writes, what time period of the past would you be most interested in experiencing for a week? Bonus question. What part of the world? So we get to use our time machine once to go back, and they don't include this in the sentence, but just to make it fun, let's not play with the stupid like, oh, I don't want to cause a paradox and disturb it. It's like, it doesn't do that. It's just going to witness it. So any time period in the past, it doesn't say Earth even. So I don't know. I'm kind of called to look back at the early, like, universe, like see the, maybe can I go beyond before the Big Bang? Can I check out what's going on before the Big Bang and see if it is just nothingness or if there's something cool happens before that?
I guess you can, but how do you imagine such a thing? I accept that answer.
Oh, you mean like my sense organs wouldn't be enough to like really take in what's going on?
I mean, it's hard to, if I say like, well, I would like to go back to the 50s to see if Mad Men was accurate and did people really smoke that much and dress in that way, and
oh, that's fun. And that's a joke answer though. I can tell by your tone.
Well, what I mean is I can kind of picture it in my mind and imagine, like, here's the reasons why I would like to see these things. Where what reason can you give for wanting to, other than you just want to go into a mysterious unknown thing that,
yeah. Okay, maybe I'll pick pyramids. Let's see who actually built those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
See if it is slaves with like pulling it on the pulleys and those things, seeing if they had like a sound
real
vibrational
and stuff too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not even worth going into, but the arguments made, it's like, yeah, but the reason it couldn't have been laborers is it's too precise, and it's like you can't even fit a razor blade in between them, and they're identical, whereas if they used a mold, it just wouldn't be that perfect, and it used to be painted with limestone, and we're confused as to how they achieved this. Even if they threw human suffering at it for 1,000 years, it still was like, how did they get the apex to line up with the center of the base? We can't even do that with today's, just those little arguments. I would just go check it out and be like, okay, no aliens, got it.
Yeah.
So I'll pick that one. What do you pick?
That's fun. I also like that people like will think that ancient philosophers knew everything and were the wisest humans ever just because they existed 2,000 or so years ago, and at the same time 2,000 years ago humans were just too stupid to do anything and like build a square-ish, like put square blocks together in a way that like fit nicely. Like, how did they pull that off?
And did we even know if people like, let's say, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, or even further in the future, Shakespeare, do we know for a fact that these are the works of singular people, or did we just put it in a pile together? Like, Plato, that he came up with that. It's like, no, that's 1,000 people's random quotes.
Yeah, because we see it in real time because it happens. People attribute quotes to Einstein all the time that aren't Einstein quotes. Just someone said something that sounded good, and then
E equals MC square ain't him. Damn. Damn.
I would love to see. I would like to see
Smash Mouth Live, 1998.
Hell yeah. That, definitely number one. My number two pick would be, there was a period of time when there was like 50 humans on Earth. But then there was other in the homogeneous or genus or whatever, where there was other things around that were human-ish like
different branches. One branch separated from us.
And I don't know how much they bumped into each other, but I would love to have seen the first 50. I guess my qualification would be you could take one of their babies, bring it back to today's time period, and no one would be the wiser. Their face wouldn't look weird. They would be able to, their brain would be just as developed or whatever as ours is now. That would be cool to see what the same human brain that we have today, what it was doing when there is just 50 of them trying to figure out existence. And,
wow.
And because there's just huge things that would eat them, and there's just enormous mammals everywhere. And
is 50 just a ballpark, or was it actually in that range?
I think there was a period of time where there was around that. I mean, there would have had to have been at some point, but I think there was a long period of time. The line's blurry. The line's super blurry, but it seems like there was a period of time where humans went for some time of just barely scraping by. Like there just was not that many humans for generations and generations. It took them a while to be prolific enough to start growing and spreading and everything. Just barely. I would love to see the scrappy humans that started it all, because then once we started taking over everything, it's just like, oh God, they're just murdering everything, and now they're like building temples to throw each other in, and all sorts of just these incredible sophisticated murder machines.
That ramped up quick, didn't it? And when there's only 50 people, it would be easy to point out who the worst one is and who the best one is. Like, oh, Larry sucks. Larry is literally the worst person.
So yeah, I think that would be my time period. So we're both going back a ways.
None of us are going to 1950 to see, Elvis shake his hips. Like, we got video. We're good.
I wonder, because
I actually would pick some concerts. I would actually want to go see Frank Zappa and Hendrix and stuff and hear what it actually sounded like. Not recordings through YouTube, but because stuff used to sound different back then. The amps used to be much louder. Now it's like we know about hearing damage, and it's so kind of nerfed. But of course I could just turn up my headphones and deafen myself. Yeah,
there's certain things I would like to see people's kind of reaction to the first cars and thing. I think I've told the story before about I took a Segway tour in Savannah, and there's this house pointed out to me that it was the first house in Savannah that had light bulbs, and they got it way before they had indoor electricity and lighting way before anyone else, because this person was particularly connected to whatever, the Edison company or something like that. And they didn't tell anyone, had it all installed, had a dinner party over, and then blew out all the candles at sunset and turned the lights on, and everyone ran screaming from the house because they thought it was like exploding or on fire or something like that. And then after that, every night, hundreds of people would gather outside that house just to watch them flip their lights on.
I mean, what is the equivalent of that today? I'm trying to think of mind-blowing things, which there probably is no equivalent. Like watching a rocket, who cares? watching something land on Mars, who cares? Like deep fake stuff, that kind of blows minds a little bit. Like, what? Someone didn't make that? A computer made that? But that doesn't make you scream. That doesn't make you run out of the room screaming. Yeah. Is there anything would that someone could witness today, some technological advancement that would make you run out screaming?
I think just because we get to see everything on our phones, I just feel like it doesn't have the same feel as like making a pilgrimage to see the person that has light bulbs and then gathering with a bunch of other people and then being really impressed because we get to see, if there is something like that today, I don't know. We just get to experience it. And I'm sure 200 years from now, people would look back at what we were impressed by and think it's adorable. But I can't think, neither of us seem to be able to come up with a good... anything
that computers can do now VR. That we're impressed by, is nothing to future people.
What would future people think was adorable? I think VR, if they see us in the goggles with the little things, just like, I can't believe it.
I actually have one of those headsets, but it's in a Tupperware container down there.
That's a technology that I think people 100, 200 years from now will see footage of someone using for the first time and think it's adorable how blown away we were by it. I can't think of anything else like that in a modern era.
I would love a leap. I would love a technological leap that scares us. And I think we're due for one. I think it's like you can tell it in the air, like when it's about to rain, like you can't quite articulate it, but there's some feeling in the air that it's about to rain. Some tension is building, and technologically there's some step like this, like AI working with these medical records, working with this something else, like combining is going to blow our minds in like 2030. But till then, it's kind of...
I just thought of one. When you see the little food delivery robots, as stupid as those things are, it's
I still haven't seen one.
So neat. I just see videos of it. I saw one the other day. It was going through a crime scene, but it was just on its path. So all the police officers and stuff have to stop and clear a path for this little Uber robot to go through their crime scene to deliver waist height or something.
It's like a R2D2 sort of unit.
Yeah.
That'd be a good getaway.
That's pretty
machine.
Neat.
Like you commit a crime and then you get inside of one of those fake food robots and you just pilot yourself out of it, and the cops will let you go. It's like, we can't find him anywhere. Hold on, there's an Uber Eats coming by.
You try.
All right, now let's split out. You go that way, you go that way.
It's like the modern hiding in a bush.
Yeah, exactly. The bush that moves, except people will expect the food robot to move. The bush moving is nonsensical.
That's very funny. So I mean, I think something like Walmart or Amazon were incredible leaps forward in some ways, and people hate them for the very same, because I also wipe out a lot of businesses and whatnot. But the idea of, I mean, you can look back to your childhood and think of a lot of things now, and the idea of being able to, I just discovered I need a weird part for an outhouse, and at 8 p.m. at night I can press a button on a computer that fits in my pocket, and it will be delivered to me in less than 12 hours without an extra charge or barely an extra charge or anything.
You expect it. You've grown to expect it. If it takes 3 days, it's like, what's this horse shit?
And everyone complains about inflation, which is a legitimate thing, but also everything's so cheap too. Sometimes when you get things like all this camping gear and things like that I got, or just tools and stuff that you get, it's just sometimes you get, it's like, how in the world could they make money? How can you sell this whole string of Christmas lights or whatever for $7? Who's making money off of that? It's just, you just get thousands and thousands of lights for $7 and they shipped it to you for free. I don't even understand how that's possible. And we're annoyed. It doesn't even, we don't, that's a technological or some sort of kind of advance that it just slid right in. We took it for granted almost as soon as it happened. There was like 2 years where people are like, have you tried out the Amazon Prime stuff? 2-day delivery. It's actually, it's a pretty, you might want to look into it. It's just another whatever.
We had it back when there was books. My parents were very big readers. They still are very big readers, but I remember when it was just the bookstore and it just slowly became everything.
You had it in the beginning days?
Yeah, in the beginning days when you could just buy books from it.
That's wow.
People forget it was just a bookstore.
That is incredible.
And people laughed at him. Yeah. Now who's laughing at him? A lot of people, but in a different way.
Yeah. Imagine if it was like Columbia House or something like that instead would have been the one that we are all getting everything that we own.
No, none of the legacy ones won. They all had the chance to, and it's kind of this interesting lesson that once you grow to a certain size, you're not going to be the ones that take it all. Like it's all these new ones that were laughed at. Like Google was laughed at, Facebook was laughed at, Amazon was laughed at. What am I thinking? Facebook, Google, Amazon. What's the fourth head of the apocalypse?
Mind Under Matter.
No, we're too big, and we don't have a goofy name. It's too sensical. It's not Hulu or Zulu or man, it's driving me crazy. What is it? Apple. Oh, I didn't say Apple, right? Apple also laughed at. Apple is the oldest one of those.
Yeah.
They're still at the top. But
yeah,
none of this have anything to do with anything.
Well, it has to do with I would love if I was going to, if there was some 200 or 300 year limit or something like that on this little thought experiment. I would really like to see people just in the streets, like mouth agape at getting to witness this new invention being released or
the
whatever.
car,
something like that. Yeah. So getting to take a ride in a Model T for the first time or something that would be kind of cool.
And they were all painted black because it dries faster.
Is that why?
Yeah. There's like when people say the story of it, it's like, yeah, Henry Ford offered you a car in any color as long as it was black.
Yeah, it's because it dried faster.
Yeah, it dried like 50% faster because it absorbs more light, etc.
Huh. Well, speaking of cool, that's the dumbest transition ever to try to end a show.
Is that the end already? How many questions did we do? 2?
We did 3 questions. We did 2 from Patreon and another from Instagram. And then, so I think we'll just do a second episode right away because we had a ton of awesome questions. So thank you all of you soft rockers for writing in. Thanks for the support on Patreon especially, but just thanks for following on Instagram and commenting and being a part of the show and community. And until next time.
Keep on salivating, honeys. Ding.